Okay, we have made it to the end of the Cyclops saga. This is the final song, My Goodbye. Odysseus just proved he is the dumbest smart boy alive. And interestingly, as I noted at the end of Remember Them, he just announces, I am, the reigning king of Ithaca. I'm the infamous Odysseus. But Polyphemus says nothing back. And in the Odyssey, this is a full-blown conversation they have where Polyphemus is up on atop the cliffs of his island. He actually is also like hurling rocks at their ship as they're trying to get out. And he very explicitly tells them, like, I'm going to tell my father, Poseidon, what you did to me. And Odysseus is like, meh, don't care, you suck, meh. Like, really just, again, levels of dumb decisions. But in that same incident, Polyphemus, we, read in the Odyssey, he calls up to Poseidon and he says, everything that happened. But he also basically asks Poseidon to essentially, you could almost say, curse Odysseus. He says, make it so that Odysseus of Ithaca never reaches his home. It's like, or if he does, let him be really, really late to get home. Let him take a really long time to get there and let him find his house and his home under siege. Essentially, let him suffer the same way that I have suffered, which, given how we completely recontextualized the Polyphemus encounter, what then happens when Odysseus returns from Ithaca, it is like we're almost getting a dark foreshadowing of what's going to happen in Ithaca. Again, if we consider guests breaking Xenia and the master of the house, if you will, the host being able to kick them out as violently as he wishes. We also had Athena appear, which she does not in the narrative of the Odyssey. Again, during his 10 years of wanderings, Athena does not appear at all as an active player in the narrative. But at the start of the Odyssey, which would be 10 years from where we're at currently in the story, she and Odysseus do have a conversation. And that's also when she goes to speak with Telemachus and she, has a whole conversation with Zeus. When we get to that point in the narrative, I'm sure we will have time and plenty to talk about there. But Athena was here and basically said, don't do this. Don't do the thing. Odysseus seemed to be saying, what did he say? He said, what good would killing do when mercy is a skill more of this world should learn to use? And it's like, Odysseus, let's be honest. What you did to Polyphemus is not mercy. It's the farthest thing from it. It's an insult, actually. It's a big slap in the face. It's cruelty. It's malice. And absolutely filled with malicious intent. So I was reading that as more of a sort of unearned false righteousness, kind of empty rhetoric, and I'm hoping the musical sees it that way, because if the musical tries to pose what he did to Polyphemus as mercy, or him even, you could say, embracing the open arms philosophy of Polites, I will have a problem, because no, it's not. It's just not. But now we will get into My Goodbye. So, I was kind of thinking when I first saw the tracklist that My Goodbye would be I don't know, Polyphemus and Odysseus having Jean Valjean and Javert trading of lines kind of song. But it seems Jorge wants to keep the fact that Polyphemus is a son of Poseidon a secret to those in the audience who don't know, but also to Odysseus and the rest of his men. I mean, unless this is Surprise going to be a song like that, I'm curious as to who's singing My Goodbye. Who is saying goodbye? Why are we saying goodbye? What is happening? Oh, that is Athena. Is Athena saying? No. Huh.
You are reckless, sentimental at best.
That's
not a teaching of mine.
Athena, I love you. I need to cut you off. Sentimental at best? Two ways I'm going to read that. One, she's being dead serious and saying that what he did was sentimental. Bullshit. Two, it's mocking and it's patronizing and it's her way of saying, really? You're going to couch this as mercy? Okay, well then at best you're sentimental, but you're not. It's not sentimental. Reckless, absolutely. Everything he did on that Polyphemus Island in the Polyphemus Cave was stupidly reckless. Absolutely clock him for that. Sentimental at best, though? I'm going to read that as mocking. I'm going to read that she's really? We're going to call that mercy? Okay, well then you are sentimental at best.
Soft, your dead friends can attest.
Hey, grown soft? No, he's not soft. Odysseus is not soft. He's currently the opposite of soft, and she'd never call him that. in the context of the myth, I guess I'm gonna have to assume in the context of this adaptation, we are supposed to consider what Odysseus did to Polyphemus as a mercy. I fundamentally disagree.
Emotions aside, you're a warrior, meant to lead the rest.
Yeah, he did screw that bit up.
I don't know where I went wrong, but I warned
You did fine,
and you
Athena.
failed the test. Now I'm gone this way. You'll know what your place is this way. You can't cross the line this way. When all is over, you'll keep yours.
Okay.
I'll keep
So it looks like my goodbye is Athena saying goodbye to Odysseus. I had mentioned in Warrior of the Mind that the gods absolutely had no problem casting aside humans who disappointed them, like CF Tantalus, CF Jason. Jason's a big example of that. I guess this means I kind of need to spoil something. So we need to talk a bit about Athena and what happens, what will be 10 years from now. So this is, again, early in the narrative of the Odyssey, but because we have reformatted it so we're linear in this musical, it will not be till later. Again, Athena is not present for any of this. This encounter is made up for the musical. It is not present in the Odyssey at all. Now, there's a sort of period of extra wanderings, like short ones, very short wanderings, that Odysseus has between leaving the island of Calypso and actually getting to Ithaca. One of the big stops being the Isle of the Phaeacians, and when he's there, that is where he tells his story of where he's been for 10 years, because they're like, you've been gone for 10 years, like what the heck happened? You sort of fell off the face of the planet, you know? And that's what a lot of that stop serves, like that's the purpose of the stop. It's for Odysseus to be able to tell his story. But what happens is Athena does go down to talk to him. She goes down in disguise. He completely clocks it's her in disguise because he's accustomed to how the gods operate and they've spoken before and she's been his divine patron, so he kind of knows her shtick. And one of the things he asks is, you know, through that all those years, like when I was, you know, going through toils, when I was stuck on Calypso's island, why weren't you there? Why did you abandon me? And she says to him point blank, I never abandoned you. I always knew you were going to get home. Like, I didn't step in because I knew you were going to get home. Which I think there's multiple ways to look at that. Like, part of me goes, that's a really lovely sentiment. I mean, it tells you, in a way, the faith and the trust she had in Odysseus and his abilities. She knew he was going to get home. Like, his ability to complete the mission, which is get home, she had no doubt that was going to happen. But on the other hand, you're again seeing that really important divide between Athena and Odysseus, which is an example of the divide between the gods and the mortals. There's a big divide because, again, the gods are not human and they never were. The closest you'll ever get to a god having been human is Heracles sort of gets elevated to minor god status upon his death, but like that's a whole different story in and of its own. So Odysseus is there just going like, I felt like I got abandoned because you didn't come and step in. Now, to be fair, the gods very rarely come to physically step in and alter the course of things. They can give you assistance, they can give you advice, they can, you know, do all sorts of things, but they usually tend to kind of just let humans do their thing. They want to watch free will play out. So also because it'll be, you suffer consequences of all of your actions. You know, we're not going to stop you from doing the bad thing. We're going to see if you do the bad thing. And for Athena, it's also a case of like, Odysseus is going, I was there for 10 years. I've been wandering around trying to get home. But then consider on the side of Athena being a goddess, what's 10 years? Like a lunch break? Not even for a god? Time has no real meaning to the gods in that respect. Not the way it does to humanity. Humanities have lifespans that will end. The gods don't. They are immortal. So again, the divide between humanity and the divine. That's sort of what you get in that interaction. But it's also like, to me, I was like, it's a nice conversation. It lets you know, like, Athena was always keeping an eye out. She always knew what was happening with Odysseus. To a lesser extent, she sort of kept a weather eye on Ithaca, but that's part of why she pops in to the narrative at the start of the Odyssey. She basically says, you know, hey Zeus, hey dad, you know, I think Odysseus has been stuck on Calypso's island for long enough. You know, I think he's got to get home. I mean, look at Ithaca. I think it's time he goes home, sets things right in Ithaca. And you know, while I'm at it, I think I'm gonna go to Telemachus and I'm gonna like set him off on some adventures. He's got to start building some like Greek hero street cred, you know? And Zeus is just like, you know what, daughter? You know what, Athena? You're right. You're absolutely right. Go send Hermes to say that Odysseus, like Calypso has to let Odysseus go. It's time for him to get back to Ithaca and set things right.
Getting a little ridiculous over there.
It's interesting that this is pretty clear. Athena, I'm assuming, is going to in some way abandon Odysseus the way that she threatened in Warrior of the Mind, which would be kind of the complete opposite of what happens in the Odyssey, because she makes it clear. She says point blank, I never abandoned you. I always knew what was going on with you, and I just always knew you were getting home. So I didn't step in any way, because I didn't, like, you could say, like, she didn't see the point. She would be disappointed in him for the way he behaved in the Polyphemus cave. Kind of both in the myth, but even more so with how it's been redone. Whoa. No. Ooh, uh-oh, guys. I have a problem. And it's that moment right there.
You do not talk back to the gods.
Oh no. Okay. Let me put it this way. As much as I laughed my way through open arms, like going, I completely, like, what on earth are you saying, Polites? What kind of Greek are you? This is an adaptive change. That is something I have seen in several other, I don't like this. And it's not even just a case of I don't like it. It does set my hackles up. It puts me up, like, against the wall, upset. Never in the myth. One, does Odysseus ever speak this way to any of the gods, let alone Athena, his divine patron. He would never fucking dare to speak to Athena this way. You do not backchat the gods. In all of mythology, the idea of backsassing a god is a one-way ticket to Tartarus, or a really nasty punishment that is, creative, you could say. Here's a good example. Let's talk about Arachne. I'm sure some people have heard this story. It's a pretty well-known myth. Arachne is where you get the word arachnid, aka spider. Arachne was a woman in Greece. She was said to be claimed herself the greatest weaver in all of Greece, so they would weave on these big looms. And she decided to challenge Athena to a looming contest, because she's saying, I could beat her. And Athena was like, oh, can you now? Can you now? Okay. So they have a weaving contest. And both of them produce, as it is said, like, technically masterful works. Like, both of them are technical brilliance, is what you're getting. And Athena creates a tapestry, weaves a tapestry that is said to be, like, glorifying the gods and the Olympians. I don't know, maybe she does scenes from, like, the Titanomachia or the Gigantomachia. Like, beautiful. You know what Arachne does? She weaves a tapestry that mocks the gods, as if she couldn't fucking step in it any further. Mostly, I believe, you'll find versions of this as, like, she weaved versions of Zeus and, like, all of his various mortal and divine lovers and painted them out as, like, completely ridiculous and absurd, very mocking. Yeah, Athena didn't take that well. She immediately turned Arachne into a spider, saying to her essentially, like, if you're such a good weaver, well, then you can weave for the rest of your life. That will be your existence, is weaving your web to survive. Yeah. You don't insult the gods. You don't backchat them. And it's not even just like, oh, in mythology, you just don't do that. It's also because, let's remember, okay? This is his deity, one of them. This is their religion. The religion of Hellenic polytheism was, like, foundational to the culture of ancient Greece, to how they created a lot of their cultural mores and ethos, to traditions, ways they went about their life, because yeah, this is a religion. Take this from somebody who once, as an experiment for funsies in college,
I'm a nerd.
I took 1 month and found an Attican festival calendar. It was from archaeological records, followed a festival calendar to get an idea of how seriously they took their religion. They took it fucking seriously. They were building the temples. There were specific prayers. There were rites and rituals. There were feast days and festivals. This was taken incredibly seriously. And this problem that I'm going to point at Epic for, and I will say this is not unique to Epic. I have seen other adaptations of, like, Greek myth or that are set in ancient Greece that are bringing in the mythology and the gods. The problem is we as a modern audience are just viewing them as characters and stories. They weren't just stories to the ancient Greeks. This was their religion. These were their deities. They took it very seriously. These were their gods. They were real to them. This isn't even just fuck around and find out. You don't backchat them. Never. Odysseus wouldn't dare. I mean, one, he just wouldn't think that way as an ancient Greek. Like, you wouldn't consider doing that. Because also, she's a goddess. You're not on the same level. In addition, he'd have the whole history of mythology in the back of his head. He's that last age of heroes. I mean, the next generation, which would be like Telemachus and Orestes and Electra and Neoptolemus and all of them, like, okay, with some few exceptions, they don't really do much of anything. But this is the last generation. All the other myths have already happened. You think he doesn't know what it means to backchat a god? It's suicidal. I mean, already she was gonna abandon him. Talking back like this? She'd either give him a creative punishment like Arachne, or she'd kill him. She'd kill him. Oh, guys, this is bad. I'm gonna have a real problem with this.
Every time someone dies, I'm left to deal with
She doesn't care.
What's a title that a goddess could land? If I'll never sleep at night.
Oh, this will make you not sleep?
I saw you as a friend.
No. I'll remind you, I saw you as a friend. We talked about this in Warrior of the Mind. You can say, like, you are a friend of Athena, or Athena is a friend of Odysseus. It does not mean what Jorge is having Odysseus say it means. It doesn't mean you're equals. But here's also the important thing. Odysseus, as an ancient Greek king, or just an ancient Greek in general, would never consider them being equals. To consider yourself on the same level of a god is to challenge them, is to insult them, is a one-way ticket to a creative punishment or death. This is one of his deities. I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to say this, and I'm probably gonna repeat this a lot. This is their religion. This shit was taken so seriously. I can't even emphasize how seriously it's taken. And this is also one of those things where I say, saying this is a modern adaptation, a loose adaptation, and inspired by whatever, does not fly, for me, when you're still setting it in ancient Greece. There are certain things you can change, like cultural attitudes, ethos, mores, things you want to change. Like, okay, maybe, I don't know, we don't have Odysseus sleep with both Circe and Calypso. Okay, we don't have him sleep around. Sure. You can do that. That's something you could change. Certain, again, morals and things that we might find unsavory as a modern audience, tweak, maybe leave out. Okay. Fucking with the religion in this way destroys so much cultural context. Context that is lost. And I understand wanting to make gods like dynamic characters, but this starts to erase that divide, that really important divide between gods and mortals. It also makes the gods appear less powerful, that they would allow a mortal to speak to them like this. Because the gods are not the forgiving type, not the Greek ones. Forgiveness ain't their shtick. You get one shot, and then they will either abandon you and or punish you if you lose that shot. I really have a problem with Odysseus speaking to Athena this way. It just wouldn't happen. And even in the context of adaptation, I don't think it works.
Done this way, you're out of my head now. This way, you won't
Except-
take my life. This way, when all is done, you're out of sight and out of mind. This way.
This is so interesting. We're having him complaining, being like, well, now I'm going to get you out of my head and you'll be out of sight, out of mind. When in the Odyssey, that's the exact opposite of what he wanted. I mean, again, he has that whole conversation with Athena going like, why weren't you there? Why didn't you help me? You're like, why did you abandon me? And here he is going like, being really combative. Again, never in a million years, never. If Odysseus were this combative in the Odyssey, the moral of the story of the Odyssey would essentially be, don't backchat the gods. I'm trying really hard, guys, not to lose my temper and stay focused, but this does bother me. This bothers me excessively.
You get what you wanted this way. You can save your time this way.
I'm really over his attitude.
Have your damn goodbye.
Whoa! Have your damn goodbye. You would not, let alone backchat a god. You wouldn't swear at a god. She should kill him. Athena would kill him. It's not even a question. It doesn't matter if she likes him. As much as I say, like, he's her dude. Like, she likes him. She liked a lot of heroes. Again, This is like the last of the heroes. Do you know how many heroes she's seen before him? All of them. All of the heroes have been before him.
Bitch, you're not special in that regard.
She'd kill him. Like, we're past the point of just she'd abandon him. She'd kill him. Nah, this would never fly. Never fly. Fucking tell him, Athena. She's really not reading him the riot act the way I thought she would. I mean, for everything, especially with how they recontextualize the Polyphemus encounter, she should be reading him the riot act. Like, going down the list, how he really fucked up. Like, really how he fucked up. She's being way too, I mean, you want to talk about grown soft? She's being way too soft. It's out of character for any of the gods to behave this way. But yeah, even Athena, she would never behave this way. Like, this level of graciousness to a mortal? No. It's not gonna happen. I cut off Odysseus, so I'm gonna back up a bit.
At least I know what I'm fighting for while you're fighting to be known.
Excuse me?
Why's your life spent all alone? You're alone!
Okay, wow. Again, never talk to Athena like this. Would never fucking dare. But also, where do you get off? What the fuck are you even talking about? At least I know what I'm fighting for while you're fighting to be known. What do you mean, fighting to be known? Athena was one of the most widely worshipped throughout Hellenic Greece. She has a whole goddamn city-state named after her. Hello, Athens exists. Like, part of why Poseidon and Athena have beef was because they got into a contest over what that city-state would get named, and Athena won. Hence, it is called Athens. Or even going back to, I talked about little Ajax, and Athena and Poseidon actually teaming up to kill him. You know why she was extra pissed at little Ajax? It's because it was her temple in Troy that he ran into and like ripped Cassandra out of, and from which they stole the Palladium. Like, she is Pallas Athena. That's a whole myth in and of itself, which we won't go into. She's not unknown. I mean, even, let's throw this in the modern context. You ask people to name like Greek gods. Athena's probably going to be one of those that gets mentioned a lot. People know who Athena is. She's up there with Zeus. Like, she's not fighting to be known. And even in Warrior of the Mind, that was not what was being said. In Warrior of the Mind, she's talking about wanting to make kind of the hero of all heroes. The heroes, like, let's say baseline, like, they're good. She wants to make them great. She really wants to make one that's great. And, you know, the heroes are, well, they're all human. Again, impossible standards. They've all got fatal flaws, so they never live up to that potential that she sees. Potential that usually can't totally be reached. I mean, some of them are also just really fucking dumb. But regardless, she is not unknown. She is one of the goddamn Olympians. Where do you get off, Odysseus? Where is the fucking audacity? Again, she'd kill him. She'd kill him. What else did he say? He said, if you claim you're so much wiser, why is your life spent all alone? My dude, she lives on Olympus with the other Olympians. I mean, unless they're on Earth, like, running amok and doing whatever the fuck they want. I mean, and she does that too. Like, they come and go as they please. She's not alone. She's surrounded by her family. Not only that, I mentioned before that, she has that conversation with Zeus. As much as, like, Zeus is the ultimate, like, oh my god, what a fuckboy, what a mess. His relationship with Athena is actually weirdly wholesome. I don't think it's ever explicitly stated, but Athena is basically, like, his favorite of all of his children. Artemis might be kind of right behind her, really. Ironically, he's almost like a girl dad. It's weird. You don't think that when you think Zeus. But his relationship with Athena, he always will listen to and consider her counsel. Whether or not he takes it, he always listens to it. Not only that, he gave her the fucking Aegis. So the Aegis was his shield. He gave that to Athena. Not as a, like, one-time use. It is, this is yours now. Just use it. Do you know how often that happens? Like, in the mythology? Never. And his relationship with Athena is good. It's really good. Again, as I say, she basically just has to have one conversation with him where she goes, you know, Dad, I think Odysseus needs to go home. And he just agrees. He's like, you know what, daughter? You are right. I respect your opinion. I value your counsel. She has, if nothing else, Zeus is almost always in her corner. Almost none of the other gods can ever say that. I really can't emphasize that enough. She's not alone. She's surrounded by other gods. She's constantly involved herself in the lives specifically of the Greek heroes, but I mean some other mortals, but usually just the Greek heroes.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What? She should kill him. Look, again, I love Odysseus. He's one of my favorite of the Greek heroes. I love the Odyssey, have loved it since I was a kid. He just would never speak to her this way. Ever. It wouldn't cross his mind. Fuck recklessness, this is suicidal. I mean, he's begging for death at this point. She should be killing him. She would not stand for this. And I don't know where he's got the fucking audacity to throw things like this at her because they make no sense. It just makes no sense. I don't think it makes, I mean, it obviously doesn't make sense in the mythology. I don't even think it makes sense in the context of the musical. I don't. This has not been set up well enough. I know I'm getting very heated about this, which is annoying because, one, I've loved this saga so far. It's been super interesting to see all the changes too. This song is good. Like, musically, it's a great song. It moves. There's emotion between the two singers. There's cool shit going on in the music. It's the lyrical content I'm having so much disagreement with. And that really is just, like, setting my teeth on edge.
Athena, you should kill him.
Let me back up, actually. She doesn't claim she's wiser. She is. She's divine. He's so full of shit. Oh my god.
One day you'll hear what I'm saying.
He's gonna have to.
One day you might understand.
He's gonna have to.
But not today, for after all you're
Oh, nice call to Just a Man. A nice callback to You're Just a Man. It feels like he wants to use that line to say like, well, this is the divine, that's the mortal. My problem again. They would never couch to be talked to like that. And a mortal would never consider talking to one of their gods who they actively worshipped. Had a whole goddamn calendar each month for how they went about worshiping which god, what fasts they were doing, what festival was being celebrated. Never. It just wouldn't happen. And again, my problem is that you're setting this in ancient Greece, and this is why I'm getting so angry about it. Like, look, again, you can do adaptations of mythology where you can get away with a lot. If Jorge had not set this in ancient Greece, my teeth would not be so on edge. Like, here's a film example, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? By the Coen brothers. That is a modern adaptation of the Odyssey, except the Coen brothers moved the time and place. They changed the location and the time period, so it is set in, like, Depression-era United States. And the brothers are able, through that film, to hit a lot of recognizable stops in the Odyssey while telling their own story and almost sort of doing satire on it. And they can get away with, like, if they were to have godlike characters to come in and, you know, have characters backchat them. We're in the Depression-era United States. Different time and place. So you have different cultural attitudes you can inject into the narrative. This is still being set in ancient Greece. They would not behave this way with the gods. I'm going to repeat this ad nauseum because this is where the adaptation does not work for me. There are some things you cannot adapt away, and something like the religion that was one of the foundations of that culture formed so much of the foundational tenets of how they lived their lives. That thing, in adaptation, you don't get away with doing that, because for me, the adaptation starts to fall apart, because then I'm really going to look at how you do the gods, and I'm going to start poking all the holes in the adaptation with it, because it causes so many problems. It's literally like playing Jenga and then bashing out the entire several bottom rows. The tower's going to start collapsing. When it comes to how the gods are treated in this way, for me, many things are going to collapse, and I'm going to have problems. I'm going to back up a bit because she started singing, and I do want to hear her lyrics. She should be reading in the riot act way more. Like, just that little bit of almost like sadness of, oh, one day you'll hear what I'm saying. I'm like, no, she'd kill him. or, I don't know, turn him into an animal. Way more grace than he deserves, than would ever be shown in a myth, too.
One day you might
I do like the callback to Just a Man,
understand
though.
one day, but not today, for after all you're just gone. This day you sever your own head. This day
Wow, that's
you cut the line. This day you lost it all. Consider this as my goodbye.
This day you sever your own head. This day you cross the line. This day you lost it all. I can take a break from my seething irritation. Are we doing really, really oblique myth references here? Because I had mentioned Athena likes to involve herself with the Greek heroes. She's like #1 god to involve herself with the Greek heroes because she sees them, she sees potential, she wants to foster it. Sever your own head. I mean, that is a very violent and dramatic line. It's quite a picture. There's a very famous head severing in myth. Perseus and the Gorgon. Perseus and Medusa. So if we want to say that each of those this days, say, again, if I'm going to, I almost feel like I'm doing a conspiracy theory. I really feel like I'm doing a conspiracy theory moment. This day you sever your own head. I mean, is that a reference to Perseus and the Gorgon? Very famously had to cut off Medusa's head, which is a super awesome myth. I really love the myth of Perseus. I'm a fan. This day you cross the line. I can think of two potentials for that. Really reaching would be saying, are we talking about the line of string that was made for Theseus going into the Minotaur? But I don't know if that would really work. That'd be me reaching. The only other line I can think would be that of Bellerophon or Bellerophon. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce his name. The only of the Greek heroes actually associated with Pegasus. The Pegasus appears in the story of Bellerophon. And he got to ride the Pegasus, and he started feeling so arrogant about the fact he gets to be on the winged horse that he tried to essentially cross the line between the mortals and the divine. He tried to fly up to Olympus, and he got smited. He was smoted, whatever. Zeus smote him down, so he never got to reach there. But again, reaching too high, being arrogant, trying to put yourself as a mortal on the same level of a god, acting like you're equals. So sever your own head, cross the line this day, you lost it all. That has to be either, I would say, Theseus or Jason. Again, Theseus could apply to these. Theseus has a whole lot of adventures beyond the Minotaur. Like, that dude just gets around and does so much crap. He sort of does, in a way, lose it all, but I think this probably means Jason. I had mentioned in Warrior of the Mind that Jason had all the favor of the gods, and he and Medea committed some horrible acts, which the gods just then went, nope, we're gone, bye, peace out, we want nothing to do with you, and his life ended very pathetically. He did lose it all. He and Medea never really found safe harbor anywhere, and then he had a chance in a new kingdom where the kings said, hey, marry my daughter. And even though Jason was already married to Medea, he just said, you know what? I like having power. I like being accepted into society. So screw my wife and kids, because he and Medea had some children by that point. And was like, yeah, I'll marry your princess. Medea didn't take that well. If anybody has read Euripides' play Medea, it's a very famous version of this story. She slaughtered her own children as a fuck you to Jason. And she sent to this princess a magical piece of clothing that when the princess put it on, she erupted in flames. And the sad part was that her father actually went and tried to put it out and was like, and when he realized he wasn't putting it out, he just held on to her and they both died being burnt alive. And Jason had to watch this happen. I mean, frankly, I don't feel that sorry for Jason. I have a little sympathy for Jason as a hero. And he lost everything at that point, because now Medea's not fucking with him. New princess marriage ain't happening. His kids are dead. He has nothing. And he's been forsaken by the gods. So he died in the shade of his rotting ship, the Argo, hence the Argonauts. And it had this one magical, like, figurehead on the front that would usually speak. The gods would come down and speak through this figurehead. But obviously they'd abandoned him long ago. And if I recall correctly, it's that particular piece that, like, falls off the Argo and, like, cracks his head open and kills him. So yeah, lost it all. I feel like I'm reaching. It does feel like a reach to say that that's what we're referring to. It was just the line, you sever your own head. That's such a, like, bold line that it just makes me think Medusa. It's the most famous head severing that happens in mythology. I'm still angry at this song. I'm not going to lie. I'm still angry, but okay, cool. Were those some very oblique myth references? I don't know, but there you go. You get some oblique myth references. I do like the Divine Choir, too. She deserves the divine choir. Oh my God, we have her ripping at a high range. This is a nasty role. Oh, that's just basically mean. Because this singer is like ripping at what sounds the top end of her chest voice, like the end of that. She doesn't sound like she's in her head voice. That is gorgeous. It's disgusting how gorgeous that is. It also still makes me angry because I'm angry at this song. I'm angry at it. So here's the thing. This song for me would work if you did not have basically all of Odysseus' lines. Every single one of his lines in this pisses me off. A Greek hero would never backchat the gods, wouldn't dare, wouldn't consider it, would never have even thought to say, you're my friend, like we're on an equal plane. It's never going to happen. This is his deity, this is his religion, just not going to happen. And part of this is the idea that Athena is going to abandon Odysseus. Again, the complete opposite of what happens in the Odyssey. She tells him point blank, I never abandoned you. I always knew what was going on with you. I didn't step in because I just knew you were going to get home. With what he did in the Polyphemus encounter, in the context of this adaptation, would she abandon him? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not Athena. I can't make that decision. I think there's a way more likelihood she would, given, again, we completely recontextualize the Polyphemus encounter and, like, everything is Odysseus' fault. He does everything wrong from the jump. He does so many things where he's just culturally in the wrong, and then the ending point, leaving Polyphemus blind, permanently disabled, not killing him. Yeah, I think she would be like, you know what? I'm so goddamn disappointed. I'm abandoning you. So it's like from the jump, she's already ready to forsake him for his myriad of terrible actions that he's taken throughout this saga specifically. The moment he talks back, it's no longer about abandonment, it's about punishment. Like, you would be dead or very creatively punished. It's very rare for the gods to do let's play the long game. I think one of the only instances you'd sort of get of the gods playing the long game on somebody getting punished would be instances in the House of Atreus. Tantalus aside, Agamemnon, his sacrifice of Iphigenia, which is like hugely controversial. There's a lot of scholarship on the topic. Ultimately, he's not punished in the moment for sacrificing his child to the gods, which the gods would abhor, if only because they have not yet fought the Trojan War. And the god who would be most pissed off about the human sacrifice really would probably be Hera. She is the goddess of, like, motherhood and childbirth, and so in that way also sort of children. She would be the most angry about this, but she was on the side of the Greeks. And Agamemnon was at the top of the totem pole. He was the guy who was holding it all together and who was in charge. So she needed him to destroy Troy. Just don't worry, once Troy was done, yeah, he suffered. His wife killed him. This is the closest you will get to the gods playing a long game with giving you a punishment. Sisyphus may be another example, in that it was waited until he died, and then he got to have his super creative punishment down in Tartarus. That kind of attitude from Odysseus, again, would never be considered by a Greek. And it's because, again, I'm repeating myself. I know I am. I'm trying to drill in, like, I have to repeat myself to just make it clear how much I think this doesn't work for the adaptation because it has been set in ancient Greece. The myths are not just stories to these characters. They are real. This is their real religion that they practice. These heroes know the consequences of doing stupid, arrogant shit like this. Hence, they don't dare. It's a rare occasion when a mortal dares to do something that's stupid. Hence, you then get a myth about it. So you don't fucking dare. I did not spend an entire part of Polyphemus talking about Xenia and how part of that is linked to Theoxenia, because you never know if a god's coming to you in disguise and you don't want to piss them off, for Odysseus to start yelling at Athena and insulting her to her face. I'm very heated because I'm very passionate about this, and this is the first time I'm really fundamentally disagreeing with this adaptation. This is the first time I'm having a real problem with the adaptation. And again, for me, and saying that this is a modern adaptation or loosely inspired by, or whatever, it doesn't fly. Because you are still making an adaptation, whether you want to call it that or not. You took a source material that was predominantly the Odyssey and obviously some knowledge of other myths, and you've transferred it to a musical. You're doing an adaptation, whether you want to call it that or not. And again, you get a lot of room to play. But this, as an adaptive change, for me doesn't work. Especially not when you introduced Zeus the way that you did. And in terms of active players, active god, divine players in the Odyssey, like of the Olympians, let's say, you will have Zeus, you will have Athena, you will have Hermes, and you'll kind of have Poseidon. And the gods are always sort of like I think, the most deceptively difficult part of doing any adaptation of Greek mythology where you want the gods as players. Because they are not human, they never were. There needs to be a really obvious, stark divide between them and the mortals. And you also need to make it clear that it's not just like, the mortals do not just like fear and respect them for no reason. They know how dangerous the gods are. They know how unforgiving the gods are. Like, you do not get second chances with the gods. Forgiveness ain't their shtick. And you know better than to backchat one of your deities. I'm never over it. I'm never over it. I'm not.
I should move on before, like, my head explodes.
Really, until we came to this song, I think the saga was great. The stuff that was done with Polyphemus and Survive, I think, is incredible. Again, giving us this more esoterically objective view of the Cyclops encounter, letting it, I mean, frankly, be even more Odysseus' fault. Like, he does everything wrong from the start in this. For me, it makes it really interesting. I loved the portrayal of Polyphemus. I love giving pathos to that character, making him more multidimensional, while still hitting some of the big stuff. We killed off Polites earlier than he should have ever died in the narrative. I think there's no lack of dramatic irony in that, given that I had a whole video yelling at him about how his philosophy is anachronistic. So he died. I'm sure for people who are really big fans of Polites, that death really hits, but I kind of didn't have an opinion on Polites other than, like, blinking at him in absolute befuddlement. And stuff in Remember Them I did like, although, again, I disagree with that and this song, where it seems to be trying to frame what Odysseus did as mercy, almost like it's not. It's not. I mean, one, the Greeks wouldn't view it that way, absolutely not. But also, I mean, I, in a modern context, don't think that's mercy. So, like, lose, it ain't mercy. I think a lot of his talk about that in Remember Them, I truly think it was an unearned self-righteousness. It's him trying to justify it to himself. He's lying to himself in that respect, which, you know, feels very Odysseus. Taking no accountability, what else is new? And now we have Athena abandoning him. It then makes me curious as what's going to happen when we hit the point of 10 years from now where he's going to be leaving Calypso. Because, again, I assume we're going to skip the Isle of the Phaeacians because that isle really just serves for him to tell his story. But it does mean you lose the conversation where Athena says, I never abandoned you. Ever. Always had an eye on you. Just always knew you were getting home. We finished the saga. A lot of good things. So many things that were great. I feel like it tripped its finish line, but that is just me personally. And let me say this. Obviously, I'm very heated. And I'm not happy with choices that were made. Obviously, it's just my opinion. It's my opinion. My opinion, I'm sure, does not, but should not, affect your ability to like the musical. Don't take it as a personal attack. I mean, if you love this song and you love the way that he does the gods in this, you're free to like that. Just like I'm free to disagree. Like, for me, I will also reiterate, I am still having fun. I swear I'm having fun. Even when I'm upset or frustrated and, like, critical and disagreeing heavily with what's being done. Like, for me, I know it's adaptation. Like, again, I studied this. I am, like, going in expecting changes. I'm also expecting I'm not going to agree with all of the changes. In the same measure, I'm not thinking I'm going to go in and, like, hate everything that's done. I expected, essentially, a mixed bag. What I'm getting thus far. I'm getting a mixed bag. And I am fine with that, and I like that, because for me, the fun is in the analysis and in having the discussion about it, and parsing out what's there, and also even acknowledging, like, if I don't like something, hopefully I won't get as heated as I was here, but I will at least always try to explain why I'm having the reaction that I'm having. Like, obviously, this is a very strong reaction. This is, unfortunately, Jorge just happened to also hit upon a thing that just, like, it's just one of those things where I go, nope, you did a thing, I'm not happy about it, and here's why. Hopefully, if I haven't now pissed off everybody and made them leave, we will go on to the Ocean Saga. So if I say, you know, the Troy Saga was lay foundation, this was the whole saga of make bad decisions, make stupid decisions, hello actions, I'm assuming the next saga, the Ocean Saga, I don't have the track list up, will be a whole saga of now meet consequences.